today my presentation is actually just going to focus on the title, which is called That Cello Piece. I would like to just do a quick sort of self-introduction. My name is Wuli, for those who don't know me, and I am a Melbourne-based cellist and string pedagogue. So I was born in China and I grew up in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia. And during my undergrad at Melbourne University, I went to Finland on exchange. And that kind of just opened up my eyes to a whole new world of classical music in Europe and Central Europe. So that kind of gave me the idea of going to do my master's. So I actually studied my master's in the UK. After studying that, I freelanced for a little bit, and then I got a job all the way back on the other side of the world in New Zealand. So I played with the Auckland Philharmonia Orchestra for about a year, and fate has it, I ended up going to the US afterwards, and I started to pursue my doctorate in music. A lot of people ask me, what is a doctor in music? What do you do? I think the best way to tell you is that once I do have my doctorate in music, I can probably go around and heal people with my music, try and reach out to people. Wow, someone is annotating. Let me see if I can switch that off. How do I switch annotations off? Sorry. There we go. Okay. Speaking of community engagement and outreach, I think it's very important at this time when there's been a lot of unrest and a lot of uncertainty among everyone all over the world, that it's really important to bring people together during self-isolation. So I'd actually like to begin today to thank the host for today's event as part of Clayton Virtual Festival, the organization We Are Together. Now, We Are Together are a not-for-profit organization based in Melbourne, and their mission is to actually reduce social isolation. They would like to provide a welcoming place for a lot of community members to actually be able to connect and network. So I feel like their mission, particularly during this time, has really thrived and helped a lot of people. Of course, everyone knows that COVID-19 has impacted negatively on a lot of people's lives. It doesn't matter which sort of sector you're working in, whether it's your family or at work. I think particularly for artists as well, we've all felt the negative impact. As a performing artist, we actually thrive on performing to live audience members. And so this sort of engagement or lack thereof has actually taken away almost a part of our being as performing artists. So you'll realize that obviously a lot of concert halls, a lot of music venues, a lot of performance venues, whether it be music or comedy or like your live band, they're all temporarily closed until further notice. On a more positive note though, I would say that during this time, it has actually given a lot of people in the arts a new opportunity to actually think of new creative ways to actually reach out to people like you all over the world, which I think is incredible because we have people dialing in from the US, from Asia, from Australia. So I think right now is the best time for you to really support your local artists. There are lots of online platforms available right now. I know Berlin Philharmonic actually has a free subscription right now, so you can hear all of their digital concerts. There's also free opera online as well. I'm sure there's a lot of online digital sort of concert halls right now that have all of your great local artists performing. So please go ahead and support them. Now, on to today's topic, that cello piece. The reason I picked this particular cello piece today is because over the time that I've been a cellist, I've always had people ask me, what's that cello piece? Have you heard of that cello piece before? That cello piece, I heard it in a movie the other day. What's that cello piece again? And I've even had students actually come up to me and ask, hey, I would really like to play the cello so that I can play this cello piece. And 99.999% of the time, what people refer to is actually this particular cello piece. So today's presentation will try and resolve a lot of questions, mainly three. Firstly, who wrote this piece? Secondly, what is this piece? And of course, I will end today's lecture with a small recital. So I'll be performing selected works from this particular work, which I'll get into in just a little bit. Who wrote it? As you can see, the handsome man sitting on the left is Johann Sebastian Bach. He was known as the father of Western classical music. The father, I mean, he's pretty old, so I would almost feel like he's probably like the great-great-great-great-grandfather of Western classical music. And this is why, because everyone knows Mozart and Beethoven. But even Mozart and Beethoven actually looked up to Bach and actually derived a lot of their compositional styles from his way of composing. He was born in 1685 and he died in 1750. He was a German composer and a musician, a multi-talented musician from the Baroque period. Now, for people who don't really know what the Baroque period refers to, I want you to think of like famous artists like Rembrandt, and also think of large sort of churches and cathedrals in the 1600s in Italy. So very refined, intricate details. He came from a very musical family background. His father was a musician. His siblings were also musicians. He had something like 8 kids, I think, or 8 or 11 kids, and even they were musicians as well. Now, one of the most prestigious sort of positions that you can have during those days was actually a Kapellmeister, translated meaning the chapel master. So it's actually basically the role of a music director for a church. Much of the music back then was actually composed for church. So during masses, Bach also composed a lot of masses. So at one point, he also actually worked for Leopold, Prince of Anhalt-Köthen. So he worked for a lot of very powerful and very influential people of that time. Interesting fact of the day. Everyone knows that Beethoven was deaf towards the end of his lifetime. Now, Bach was actually almost blind. I think by the age of 64, he was already considered medically blind. I think prior to that, he had pretty terrible lighting and was just composing in his room the whole day, and his eyesight just wore away gradually and gradually, but he still seemed to write fantastic music that we're still playing right now. Unaccompanied cello suites. Now, the reason why it's called unaccompanied cello suites is because I am going to be performing just with the cello. There's not going to be a piano. There's no piano. This is just to look good behind me. And there's not going to be a vocalist performing with me. There's not going to be an orchestra behind me. I'm playing unaccompanied cello. The full title of that cello piece is The Prelude from Unaccompanied Cello Suites No. 1 in G major, BWV 1007. That probably sounds really complicated to you right now, but let me just break it down for you, because it's just another way to catalog the sort of thousands of pieces that Bach actually wrote during his lifetime. Bach actually wrote 6 cello suites, and the Prelude that everyone is familiar with is actually from his first suite. So let's just break it down. You have unaccompanied cello suites. He wrote 6 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They're all varying in difficulty, varying in tonality and character. And you can see that the Prelude is actually from the first cello suite, which is in G major. These cello suites were said to have been written around 1717 to about 1723. Now, if you think about it, that's 300 years old. That's a really long time to be performing someone's music. Let me just reiterate that one more time. That's 300 years old. So everyone just think for a second, what is your favorite band, your favorite singer? And how do you think maybe like the Beatles or Prince or I don't know, maybe you like Ariana Grande or something. So, I mean, what's their music going to be like in 300 years' time? Do you think people are still going to be playing their music in 300 years' time? It's a good question. Now, the prelude basically is exactly what the word means, is an introduction. But what you don't know, what many people might not know, is that the first suite starts off with the prelude, but actually has 5 dances to follow. Now, why are they called dances and not movements or pieces or songs? Okay, why? Because all of the 5 dances within that first suite are actually based on Baroque style dancing. Baroque style dances, just like the one over there on the right. Baroque allemande dance. So just imagine sort of people in very sort of puffy skirts. Men probably have like their socks up to their knees, and then they're graciously dancing in a very large and beautiful sort of, you know, ballroom. So we've got 5 other dances. We have the allemande, the courante, the sarabande, the minuet, and the gigue. So prelude and 5 different dances. The first suite in G major is probably one of the most famous cello pieces in the history of time. When I say the most famous, I mean like every single cellist has played this piece. Every single generation of cellists has played this piece. Including one of my favorite cellists is Yo-Yo Ma. Now, if you don't know Yo-Yo Ma, you should go onto YouTube and search for Yo-Yo Ma. That's Y-O-Y-O-M-A. Not really hard to forget. Actually, not really easy to forget. And he's got several different recordings of Bach suites, so I really encourage you to go on YouTube and actually check out some of his recordings. They're fantastic. He's one of my favorites. And you'll realize that this particular prelude that everyone knows is also in a lot of movies. That's probably why a lot of people recognize it. It was actually featured in The Pianist, Ex Machina, and one of my favorite films, Cruel Intentions. Sometimes you'll actually hear different movements or even different suites. So like I said before, there are 6 different suites that Bach wrote, and his music, his cello suites are used often as background music in many, many sort of Hollywood or international films. I originally wanted to only perform the prelude of the first suite. However, I had several requests from people asking me if I can actually play a little bit more from the first cello suite. So today I'm actually going to be playing the prelude, the sarabande, and the gigue for you. Just a little bit about these 3. So as I said before, the prelude is the introduction. Now, the introduction into a suite, you can almost think of it as like an introduction to a book. So there are several different chapters. And I suppose the introduction kind of establishes the root. And the root of it is actually G major. So for people who don't know what G major is, it doesn't really matter at this point. What is important is that you'll realize the reason this piece is so popular is because it's very earthly, as one of my friends actually commented today, is that there's a use of bariolage, and bariolage is a French word and it means multicolored. So what that means is that at the beginning here, you'll hear that there are actually, this is the G string, and you'll always hear this G string kind of resonating and actually coming through as the bass. And then afterwards you have, so you have all of these sort of different colors, different layers of colors and different layers of notes sort of layered above the G. So I think that kind of gives it a really, a very sort of unique kind of piece that is very, that you can recognize very easily. The Sarabande, that is a slow and sensual kind of dance. So it originated in Spanish colonies and then went over to Spain and then went over to France and Italy in the 17th century. Now, when it was actually first discovered, no one really knows. The gigue is also known as a jig. So you can imagine it's very lively. It's kind of a rustic folk dance. It was originally developed in England, but quickly spread throughout mainland Europe. Nowadays, I think most people associate the jig mainly with Irish and Scottish dances. And now, I've had requests from some of my colleagues and friends to do a cello spin. Sorry, I am not going to be doing a cello spin today, just in case I really embarrass myself. So I will give you this GIF as a cello spin. And now I will present to you the Prelude, the Sarabande, and the Gigue from Bach's first cello suite. Okay, well, I hope that kind of gave you a glimpse of what the first cello suite is like. So that again, I'll just reiterate, I played the Prelude, the Sarabande, and the Gigue from Bach's Unaccompanied Cello Suites #1 in G major. Oops, somebody just shared screen. Huh. There we go. I don't know what just happened. I would like to go back to this PowerPoint. There is that cello spin. And I would like to say some thank yous very quickly. Firstly, thank you for taking the time on a Sunday afternoon or a Saturday evening or a Sunday morning, wherever that you're from. Thank you for coming in and watching this. It was a glimpse of what the Bach cello suites were like. I'm hoping that I can do more of these. So I would really appreciate if you can give me some feedback. Let me know what you enjoyed. Let me know what you would like to hear more. And I know that we are together working on trying to bring some other content as well in the future. So if possible, shoot them an email as well. I've written them on the PowerPoint presentation. You can also pop me an email and visit my website, www.dianawuli.com. And I'm also on social media, so feel free to actually add me and send me a message. I would love to know what you enjoyed and what you would like to hear more of. And last but not least, I would like to thank everyone for coming. Again, I'd like to thank my parents. They have been working very, very hard to try and help me set this up in the living room. And they are currently in the study room on the screen. And I'd also like to say a big hello to all of my friends all over the world that have come in to support me on my first virtual lecture. So again, thank you very much. And I am now open for questions. You can ask me anything you want. Okay. So, does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask? Could be about Bach, could be like not about Bach, it could be like, what am I doing, or what are artists doing, or what I had for breakfast this morning. I actually didn't have breakfast this morning because I was so nervous about this session. Anyone have any questions? Anyone want to say hello? That would be kind of nice. Oh, this is the first time I get to see everyone on the screen. Hello.
How many hours do you practice every day?
Sorry, I just had the, who just spoke just now? Can you just speak again? I actually switched my, my sound off. That was probably why I didn't hear anything.
Okay. How many hours do you practice every day?
Wow, that is a really good question. Thank you for asking. I should be practicing more hours every day. That is my answer. I used to practice maybe minimum 3 hours a day, 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours. But nowadays I aim to do I do 1 hour solid of just scales and basic work, maybe an hour and a half. And that is a must, must, must. So practice your scales. Remember, you have to practice your scales. And then in terms of pieces, I probably practice another hour and a half. So about 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours a day. But when I was much younger, I definitely tried to practice at least 4 hours a day. Are you a cellist? Are you playing cello right now? Oh.
Yes,
Is it Leonard?
Leonardo.
Oh, Leonardo. Leonardo, where are you from?
I'm from Melbourne.
Oh, you're from Melbourne. Oh, well, welcome. Nice to meet you. Oh, I see Amy. Hello, Amy. Amy Nguyen, I see you. Hello. Oh, this is really nice to see everyone here. See, this is kind of amazing that I can see everyone from all over the world all joined in and all brought together by this session. So I think that's actually, for me, that's actually very special. Okay. So, does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask? Could be about Bach, could be like not about Bach, it could be like, what am I doing, or what are artists doing, or what I had for breakfast this morning. I actually didn't have breakfast this morning because I was so nervous about this session. Anyone have any questions? Anyone want to say hello? That would be kind of nice. Oh, this is the first time I get to see everyone on the screen. Hello.
How many hours do you practice every day?
Sorry, I just had who just spoke just now? Can you just speak again? I actually switched my my sound off. That was probably why I didn't hear anything.
Okay. How many hours do you practice every day?
Wow, that is a really good question. Thank you for asking. I should be practicing more hours every day. That is my answer. I used to practice maybe minimum 3 hours a day, 4 hours, 3 or 4 hours. But nowadays I aim to do I do 1 hour solid of just scales and basic work, maybe an hour and a half. And that is a must, must, must. So practice your scales. Remember, you have to practice your scales. And then in terms of pieces, I probably practice another hour and a half. So about 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours a day. But when I was much younger, I definitely tried to practice at least 4 hours a day. Are you a cellist? Are you playing cello right now? Oh.
Yes,
Is it Leonard?
Leonardo.
Oh, Leonardo. Leonardo, where are you from?
I'm from Melbourne.
Oh, you're from Melbourne. Oh, well, welcome. Nice to meet you. Oh, I see Amy. Hello, Amy. Amy Nguyen, I see you. Hello. Oh, this is really nice to see everyone here. See, this is kind of amazing that I can see everyone from all over the world all joined in and all brought together by this session. So I think that's actually, for me, that's actually very special. Oh, I see Raymond Young. Hello, hi. Well, does anyone else have any other questions they would like to ask before we end today's session? Hello, Phoenix. I see you.
You caught me. I was hiding. When are you doing the next session? This was really good.
Well, I mean, hopefully maybe I can, I don't know, maybe, is it too optimistic to say once a week? I think that's too optimistic.
No, not at all.
Yeah, hopefully maybe, I don't know, once every 2 weeks, once every fortnight, I'll try and do a little bit, just I think 30-minute session in general is a good amount of time, I would say. I mean, please let me know if you would like to hear more of something, if you'd like to hear me talk more, or if you'd like to hear me play more. But I tried to see if I could find a balance so that, you know, there wasn't too much playing without explanation and there wasn't too much explanation without playing.
Diane, I think there were two questions in the chat. One was, how many years have you been playing cello? And the other one is if people could put in requests for the next performance.
Sure, sure. Wow. I'm really happy to hear this because how many years have I been playing cello? I have been playing 20 years, maybe a little bit more than that, a little bit more than 20 years. I'm not going to tell you how old I am because that might be embarrassing. But yes, I've been playing for 20 years, more than 20 years. And as for requests, you please, I think my email address is on the PowerPoint slide that I'm sharing right now. So feel free to email me and tell me like, sort of like when you would like to hear the next session. If you have a particular piece, maybe I should start a series called That Cello Piece. I don't know. Maybe give me some ideas what you think a series of like these videos can be. That would be kind of, it would be kind of nice for me to know what I should, pick out because I don't normally, I want to be able to bring and sort of tell you and perform more about pieces that you would like to hear as well. Are there any other questions? Anyone else? Questions?
Hi, Diana. Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, I'm trying to see who's speaking right
This is
now.
Patricia from
Oh,
California.
hi, Patricia. Hello.
This is kind of unrelated, but when are you going to come back to the States and give us a real performance, a live performance? Not to say that this wasn't.
Well, Patricia is currently in San Francisco. Am I correct?
Oakland, you're close.
Yes, yes, Oakland. Okay, so near the Bay Area in the USA. I would, like I said, I mean, I can see Leo, Chris. I think, yes, I think Chris and Carla there. Yes, hello. They're
I
also
guess a
in
better
Fresno.
question.
Sorry?
I said I want to rephrase, as in, what would be the first thing you'd like to do when you can leave, when we can all leave our homes?
Oh my goodness. I think I would like to, I don't know, actually, I kind of want to go to a cafe and just be able to sit in a cafe and read a book. And just, I'm the type of person where, like, if I'm studying or if I'm reading, I kind of like a little bit of white noise. So I'd like to see, occasionally, like, I like to see people walk past. I'll have a sip of coffee. I like to see what people, how people socialize. And then, that would be kind of nice. But right now, I suppose I can do it in my back garden, which is kind of nice as well. But yeah, that would be something that I would like to do. And particularly, actually, I would love to play chamber music. I would love to play chamber music with a lot of my musician friends. Like that is something that I feel like all musicians are missing right now is to be able to perform and play with other musicians. Unfortunately, software like Zoom is fantastic, but it does not necessarily support sort of dual or multi sort of audio direction. I don't know how to explain that. That is like out of my league. But I just know that it's not possible to actually play in live, in real time with another musician. So I think that's something that all of us, all of the artists are actually craving to be able to do once restrictions have lifted. Anyone else have questions?
I have a question.
Yes, is that Amy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you ever gonna come back to the US?
Yes, I will definitely be coming back to the US because I will be visiting Leo and Chris and Carla. And congratulations on the new place. United Conservatory of Music has actually just moved to a bigger and better music sort of teaching space. So if you're based in the Bayside, please go and visit their new school. I'm really excited for them. And hopefully I can go back to Fresno to visit you, Amy, and visit some other people so that we can all play some music together, including Patricia as well. So like I said, I will definitely be coming back to the US so that I can see everyone and visit everyone.
Thanks, Diana, for giving us a plug.
Of course, Leo, anytime.
Oh, she's coming to our.
Oh, yes. Yes, we're looking forward to seeing you next Friday at UCM. Well, online, of course.
Yes, so I'll be giving another sort of virtual little. I think it's probably going to be more about what is the cello or cello technique, or yeah, maybe something a little bit more on about the cello and the instrument itself. So if you're interested in that, I'll probably be posting up a link about that as well. And like I said, anyone is welcome to join. That is going to be hosted by United Conservatory of Music. And they have a mini series, I think every week, right? Am I correct?
That's right. We had Dr. Kraus yesterday.
That's correct, yes. Dr. Sonia Kraus yesterday was talking a little bit on the series as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that next week. Yeah.
Which reminds me, when are you going to be done with your doctorate?
You know, Leo, that was the question I was trying to avoid, and you brought up that very question. The answer to that is it shall be finished soon. I am working on it. I will be Dr. Wuli very soon.
Yay.
Would anyone else like to ask anything?
Oh, what is your favorite piece?
Of all time?
Yes.
Cello piece of all time.
Well, that's good.
Like cello piece of all time?
Oh.
Oh my goodness. I feel like it kind of changes every now and then. But I think right now I have this, I don't know, newfound love for a lot of Baroque and classical repertoire. Like by Sammartini wrote a lot of, I don't know if it's an arrangement or something, but he wrote like Boccherini, Sammartini. I'm really getting into this early classical, late Baroque style music. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of switches from time to time. Of course, everyone loves Dvorak and Shostakovich and whatnot. But yeah, we can go in phases. I will probably put up a list on my website of pieces that I recommend and that are my favorites. And I'll put on links as well that you can go and check out some of really, really great cellists that actually perform them on YouTube.
I'm curious, Diana, is there, after 20 years of playing the cello, is there any piece that's too difficult for you? Still too difficult?
Yes, yes, there is. So I was working, prior to working on this presentation, I said to myself, okay, I'm going to be really productive during self-isolation. And I'm going to learn the entire Sinfonia Concertante by Prokofiev. So I learned the first movement and I thought, oh yeah, this is fine. I can do this. This is okay. And then I got to the second movement and then I realized that the second movement was something like 15 pages long. So firstly, I don't understand why the second movement is 15 pages when there's also 8 pages of the third movement as well. So when I was practicing the second movement, I just realized that firstly, it's very, very difficult. And for a split second, I actually thought, wow, I actually really have to put in effort and actually learn this now. So there are definitely times that I feel that some pieces are like I would really have to work quite hard on trying to get it to be able to learn it properly. And of course, believe it or not, for even pieces like Bach cello suites, this is one of the reasons why you have people like Yo-Yo Ma or like Ralph Kirschbaum or sort of other contemporary cellists as well. They spend their entire lives actually coming back to these cello suites, because these cello suites, every time you play them, every time you go back to them, gives a very kind of, I don't know, you have a new perspective on things. You hear things differently. You kind of even see and visualize things differently as well. So I think that in itself is a challenge, and I suppose that comes with age and wisdom, right? I would hope so. But yeah, there are times when I do feel definitely challenged, but I still keep challenging myself, and I suppose that's what we all do. That's what artists do all the time. They try and take on new challenges all the time and try and do the best that they can, because perfection, we all know that it's almost impossible to achieve perfection, but I think as long as you're doing your best, you're always achieving something.
So if you want a challenge, do you want to perform that piece for us next week?
Oh, Michael, I will have a word with you in private after this session.
I look forward to it.
Okay, would anyone else like to ask anything? You can ask me a cello question. Hello, Alex.
Yeah, well, I don't want to ask. I don't think I have a question. I just wanted to say hi, that I'm so excited to get to see you.
Oh.
I miss you a lot.
Oh, Alex and I actually performed. He's a fantastic violist, and we performed chamber music together. He actually was on one of my recitals as well, with some other people. I think Emily also played on my recital. Is Emily Leong still there? Maybe she left. But yeah, so he performed on my recital, and like I said, I think this is one of the things that I miss the most, is to be able to actually play with other musicians. It's just like when you're in a band or when you're in a choir, it's not a choir if you're only singing by yourself. You want to be able to sing with other people.
Especially though now that, I mean, here at school it's like there is plenty of time, but it's nobody to play with, and
So we have plenty of time, like you said, plenty of time, but we can't actually be in the same room as each other.
But I mean, now that you mentioned how is your practice session, I'm like it, because I'm doing the same. You know, I'm doing just double stop scales, 1 hour, 1 hour and a half. That this kind of thing is actually, I mean, don't want to say a good time, but taking advantage of not having that much to do in order to work these details and this technical stuff that, I mean, always we have to deal with shifting, tuning, and all those things. Yeah.
So I think for all the sort of musicians on call right now, so for all the cellists or whatever instrumentist you play, take this opportunity, take this time to actually work on some basics. You don't have to feel like you're, in a rush, because we have time right now. So like I said, every day I've been trying to do like an hour and a half of just scales, double stops, very basics. And I think it's really helped a lot. I can't remember the last time I really did that. I can't even remember. Usually I'm just like, playing so many different pieces. So I just maybe play a scale for like 5 minutes and then go straight into that piece, because there's just too much music to learn. So it is quite therapeutic in many ways. All right. Well, it is 4:20. Does anyone else have any other questions? Like I said, if you don't feel comfortable sort of voicing your questions here, my email address is there. Please send me an email. I would love to hear your feedback and your thoughts, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
If you were to play another instrument, what would it be?
Okay, I actually really want to play the timpani. I know it's the most bizarre thing to say, but I really want to play the timpani. I think it's because there's a couple of times I went to see a concert. I think it was Malaysian Philharmonic, And there was a timpanist that was, imagine like, you know, like an 80 or 90% orchestra, 90-person orchestra. And then you have at the very top in the center is the timpani player. And he was very theatrical. Whatever he was doing, he really caught my eye. I promise it was his timpani playing.
What instrument is that? I've
What
never.
instrument is a timpani? So like, they're actually, so they're really large drums. They're very circular, large drums, and you can actually tune them. So you would have heard them in a lot of symphonies, in a lot of orchestras. They're usually providing the sort of bass notes and the bass chord structures throughout certain movements. Maybe, I don't know, why don't you go on YouTube and search timpani? Maybe you'll find a really interesting recording of it.
What if you had to pick from a band instrument?
Band instrument. Oh my goodness. What, like a guitar or a bass or something? I think I would definitely pick the drums. Yeah, I think there's something, must be in line with the fact that I want to play timpani. I think I just really want to play drums and be able to like beat and hit the drums. I'm not really sure how my parents would feel about that. I might have to get one of those like soundproof rooms. Okay. Anyone else? All right. Well,
I just want to question. Is that your cello or is another cello?
this is my cello. Yeah, this is my cello. Although I feel like maybe you saw when we performed together, that was the Kennedy, which is actually Leo's cello.
Ah, okay.
So yeah, it's a different, yeah, it's different. I mean, it's much better than mine. Much better cello than mine. Yeah, so this is actually my cello. So my cello is actually an Australian-made cello. It was made by a Scottish maker, and in the early 1900s. So I think, yeah, it's over 100 years old now. So, and there's not really that many Australian makers. He made 6 cellos, and I think this is the 5th one. The other ones I think have gone missing. I'm not really sure what happened to the other ones, but I got this cello maybe about 8 years ago, and I loved it. Yeah, I just really like it. I mean, of course, I like the Kennedy as well, Leo. I really like the Kennedy, but I do really like my Australian cello too.
How much does a Kennedy set you back?
Oh, Michael, of course you would be. Please enter the finance-minded people. I'm actually not so sure. I would say Kennedy in general maybe range something like 80 to 120, $150,000 US, not Australian. Therefore, it's more in Australian dollars.
One question that maybe simple. Like, how do you pick the cello? Like, how, like, in order to, like, you want to try another new cello, like, what is, like, you look for the instrument? Or why, what makes you know that, okay, this is the one that I want?
Okay, well, that's actually a really important question. And I think a lot of people, when they're trialing instruments, it's probably, I know this is going to sound really bizarre, but you kind of have to feel there is some special connection between you and the instrument. It cannot be just another object. You have to have some sort of physical and emotional connection to it. So that, you know, as soon as you draw the sound from the instrument, you feel that there is an immediate connection with it, that it can kind of it can kind of communicate. You can kind of communicate with it, and it'll kind of respond in a way that you want to respond. Obviously, there's bad days and there's good days, but most of the time, I would say, like when I first picked this cello out, I just thought like, as soon as I played it, I just thought everything just felt so comfortable in the left hand, in the right arm, and I just felt like it kind of, I don't know, it was like my soulmate or something. Maybe not my only soulmate though, because could always like another cello as well. Okay. All right. Well, I think it is already 4:30. Thank you again for everyone for joining in. Again, please email me. Let me know. I know we are together very keen to know your feedback on today's session as well. And I know for many of you, I'll probably be seeing you again soon. Whether it's virtually or hopefully when restrictions are lifted, we can play cello or perform together in person. Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you so much. And it's really good to see really familiar faces as well. Bye.
See ya. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Diana.
Bye-bye.